If COVID-19 became a pandemic in 1990 rather than 2020, how would events have played out differently? Kids would have long work pockets instead of online class. I wonder if they would have done a school TV broadcast on the public access channels. Edit. Wow. I didn't realize so many places were currently doing this. That's what happened in my country, Albania. This happened in my state in India too. Edit. Kerala. In case you're wondering, it's broadcasted on a single channel with time slots for different classes and subjects. 8 AM for first graders, for example, and is also uploaded to YouTube. As a software engineer, rather than remoting in, I could just dial in and download the 200k of source code and work on it at home. Security wasn't a real issue then. DOS text-based software, and instead of trying to work on the source with maybe 1,000 other people, your whole software team that might modify your module might be fewer than 5 people, unless you worked for Microsoft. Yes, those were the days where the only other person that could be working on the same code is the guy sitting next to you. So you tell them you're changing common H, and then SVN gives you a merge error anyway, and it takes the lead engineer an entire afternoon to get the repo working again. Truly, the pinnacle of civilization. Every box of cereal would have a limited edition collectible mystery mask in it that you have to submerge in water for an hour to activate the filter or some shit. Hypercolor masks. I would be 9 years old playing in my backyard or up in my room with stuffed animals and be super excited that I didn't have to go to church. Same except Nintendo, and 11 years old for me. Playing Nintendo with your stuffed animals. I think there would be a D-A-R-E like cartoon mascot to promote COVID safety protocols. Mask it or casket. Sitting here looking at my Mark Martin with a North Carolina State Trooper poster with the giant click it or ticket on it. Your comment is too perfect. X-Men cartoon telling you to wear a mask during cartoon time, including Wolverine even though he'd be immune. Plot twist, Xavier and Magneto die of COVID and everyone becomes normal students and working adults. There would be no COVID-19, just COVID-89. God, the 90s kids would have another thing to brag about, only them remembering. I said, oh come on love, we'll be just fine. We are gonna live quarantine like it's 1989 feet. I don't know, but George Carlin would have been hilarious. You know what's wrong with the Dickin world? Republicans telling you a virus is a hoax and then being first in line to get the vaccine faster than Duckin' Michael Johnson. Thoughts and prayers for you, but they want the real medicine. Honestly, this might be the most Carlin posthumous quote I've ever heard. That is 100% on brand with his punk line setup. My mom would have called around till she found someone who tested positive, then sent us over to play so we'd build immunity. This is how I got chicken pox as a kid. At the time, I was happy I got to hang out with my friend. Little did I know my parents were committing biological warfare. My mom did too, and then got worried because we only had it mildly. She thought we didn't get sick enough to be immune. No lockdowns. The speed we got the vaccine is straight up science fiction compared to what was possible in the 90s. Sequencing the genome alone would take ages. Even after less than a year, everyone is about at the end of their rope. In the 90s it would have to have been stretched multiple years, so they would just not do it and hoped for the best. And no Zoom or working from home. I'd go one farther and say the phone system would have failed, since it was designed to only handle the % of the subscribers using it at any given time, and only one phone line per house and no mobile. No remote learning, no remote working, and a vaccine that would have taken much longer to create. Probably would have resulted in many more deaths even with social media not spreading misinformation. People still had conspiracy theories, they just spread slower back then. Might have forced wealthy countries into basic income, while poorer countries would have suffered even more. Vaccine would have taken years. It was questionable whether we could make one so quickly today. Fortunately we could. Close bracket. MacGyver would have saved us all. Considering the people wouldn't have social media, to air their opinions on. Nor the modern day streaming services. Nor Amazon. Think we'd be doing a way worse job of social distancing, or whatever. The biggest difference, however, would be that most of the people who had no problem doing their job from home on a laptop in 2020 would actually still have to show up at their workplace in 1990. Same is true for students, and remote learning wouldn't have worked. Nobody would know who Joe Exotic is. Wait, Joe Exotic wasn't 2019. Jesus, what a long year. Tiger King was released March 20th. Here in Belgium we first went into lockdown March 18th. Those two events will forever be linked in my mind. When my grandkids in 2060 ask me what the pandemic was like, I'll go, "Kids, let me tell you about the wondrous world of big cats in the USA." I wonder how much it would spread in the first place. It feels like there was a big jump in mobility in the last 30 years. So it's possible that it would not have spread as far in the first place. However, let's assume it did get your neighborhood. On the downside, the internet was really in widespread use. So no work or school from home. So you would have to interact with others. However, on the upside, no internet means no social media spreading false information. There were only a small amount of news outlets, and while they aren't perfect, I think they would have given better information than what some people are getting now. There would have been very little cries that it's all a hoax on network TV back then. So the general public might take it more seriously. I think Bush Sr. would also have taken it seriously. So having the president on television telling you that there is a problem does a lot to convince people that there's a problem. I think it would have spread just as far in 1990. It's just that the news about it wouldn't have spread as fast, and doctors from different areas wouldn't have been able to communicate with each other as much either. So there would have been a lot of really bad, deadly cases of pneumonia until someone put two and two together. Getting a vaccine safely to the finish line in just a year would have been impossible. 1990 would have been duck with hoping COVID burned itself out, because they would have been years away from getting anything workable together. Part of why the vaccine was so fast was actually because of scientists studying the similar structure of previous coronaviruses back in 2016. Without any of that research, we'd still be years away from one. The grunge scene probably would have never happened. Smells like hand sanitizer. Stay away. Princess Diana would go on about the importance of wearing a mask, and then more people would wear masks too. She helped destigmatize HIV/AIDS. Before her, there was a huge stigma that it could be spread through human contact. Close bracket. She helped destigmatize HIV/AIDS. Before her, there was a huge stigma that it could be spread through human contact. I remember how big a deal it was that she had shook the hand of an AIDS patient at a hospital she visited. It felt like a turning point on how people viewed the disease. Dan Quayle would spell it wrong. Covid. Good question. Terrible responses. No shit. As someone who was in his 20s in 1990, the correct answer is spotting COVID positive people based on Gennaro hypercolor t-shirt color changes. Or have MC Hammery release You Can't Touch This with lyrics altered to make it more COVID relevant. Due to the PPE shortage, I'm turning my pants into 12,000 N95 masks. People would just continue to live their lives normally. This is the 90s for crying out loud. This is the most likely answer. People would talk about how the flu is really bad this year, and that would be about it. Mike Huckabee would suggest we isolate the carriers of this plague as he did with AIDS. Don't only single out Huckabee, but other politicians as well in the public. Look how they treated the kid Ryan White who got it through a blood transfusion and was treated like the scourge of the earth. There were protests and near riots over him wanting to attend school. And of course the media was right there to keep the fear going. Well, there won't be armchair doctors on Facebook spreading misinformation and conspiracies about COVID not being real. So maybe people would actually socially distance and wear masks without claiming their liberties are being infringed upon. Being stuck at home would be a lot more boring. No video streaming. Also, no telework because the internet just wouldn't be able to handle the capacity. Even if people could set up computers at home, Windows 3.1 would not have been released yet in 1990. So you had Apple computers and that was about it. And it was 24K modems, not even 56K yet. So everything would be slow. Maybe if all you did was paperwork, a fax machine could work. But not well. In short, more people would be infected because more people would need to gather together for work. And more people would get bored and go to video stores and libraries. And schools wouldn't be able to close unless the entire area closed because young kids can't study alone at home. It would be a huge thing. And a pain in the ass. And a lot worse. Especially considering less advanced medical technology. I don't think getting a vaccine out for a coronavirus within a year would have even been possible in 1990. Read my lips. Wear a mask. How can I read your lips if you're wearing a mask? /s. Well, that was the start of the USA going to Desert Storm at the end of 1990 and 1991. So that would be very interesting during that time. There was not as much social media going on, so there would be less fear spreading so quickly, and we would have had TP and paper towels lasting longer. Lol. Knockoff Bart Simpson masks everywhere. The economy would have really taken a larger hit from people not being able to go to work and shop online. There would be fewer deaths and serious cases because of the much smaller percentage of overweight and obese Americans. There would be fewer free spaces for anti-mask loons to broadcast their latest conspiracy theories, meaning there would likely be more mask compliance. There would be higher levels of depression due to lack of technological capabilities like FaceTime and Zoom. There would be a quicker response from the president and Congress than there has been in 2020 due to fewer obstructionists. There would have been more vitriol levied toward the gay community because of the stigma attached to HIV/AIDS in 1990, which probably would have been associated with COVID somehow. People not being able to shop online. While this was before internet shopping, don't forget the mail and telephone order juggernauts. Sears would have made an absolute killing. Their catalog was legendary. Read my lips. Oh wait, you can't because I'm wearing a mask. George H.W. Bush. The main difference would be the medical response and time to develop a vaccine. Medical technology has come a long way and many countries are much more prosperous today. As for everything else, it depends on how equal you want to make things. If you assume the virus originated in China, then in 1990 it's unlikely the virus would have left the country for the same reason MERS never became a pandemic. It was a poor country and almost nobody traveled to / from it. Misinformation would still be present, but you would have received it through the mail, fax, over the phone, automated calls, and through normal conversation. For example, I do not use social media, and I know all about the misinformation as well as other BS conspiracy theories, like flat earthers and 5G, because I hear it from people and it's reported on and corrected through the reputable media outlets. You are on social media right now. SHHHH, don't tell them. Let them believe. It really blew up everything they were saying though. Like, I was doing a lot of nodding until wait. UHH. But, apostrophe. For some reason there's a ton of people on here who think it's not social media. This is a pandemic that the US specifically was uniquely well equipped to botch despite knowing what needed to be done and how to do it. Others have touched on social media spreading misinformation, but additionally, the primary method of containing this virus relies on doing things for the benefit of other people at a time, when the US is more divided than we've ever been. I truly think we would have fared far better on that front in 1990, especially considering we would have a more competent leader at the helm. That said, I do not believe a vaccine would have been made as quickly. So I think it could have simmered for an extended period of time instead of coming in such deadly waves. Edit. Phrasing. From a member of Gen X who was around at the time. This is the best answer on the thread. I would have had to do first grade from home, rather than my daughter. Lisa Frank would come out with the coolest masks and stickers. U2 would have had an epic global music festival in Berlin in which people cried. The event was televised and raised millions of dollars. Nearly everyone in the world took COVID seriously, and the anti-maskers would have never existed. U2 holding a super spreader event sounds plausible. I like to think George H.W. Bush would have taken it more seriously than Trump did. I'm not sure, but I hope so. Kurt Cobain would have written a really awesome song about it. Hey PSSST, please subscribe and like.